Joel, good morning. It's always great to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Casey. Good morning.
Let's start with this new IDF video and what they say are pictures of the hostages and coming through the hospital. What do you see as you watch this? I mean, what's your understanding of how this relates to? And it's honestly been an ongoing information war over what this hospital is being used for.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, what comes to mind is the question, is this a hostage hospital? Why are there hostages going through Shifa on October 7th? What were they doing there? Were they there to get medical treatment, as I'm sure the spinmeisters of Hamas will like the world to believe? Or are they being brought there to go through tunnels and brought underground? And so there are a lot of questions. Clearly, this demonstrates that Hamas is operating from within the hospital at a certain level, perhaps as a military center. Certainly, they have a tight relationship with the administration there. They weren't being told to stay out. They weren't being told that if you come here, you're going to attract Israeli retribution. But that's what's happened. And it is very concerning that they are in that hospital, and it seems like they've been in there ever since.
Joel, we keep hearing about this hostage, the possibility of a hostage deal. And yet it never actually seems to happen. What is your understanding of where things stand right now?
So what I'm gathering and talking to folks around Washington about this is that you're right, as the reporting was, that there is some contour of 50 or so people being traded for a temporary pause. And the question then, of course, that Israel has is, well, give us the names. What are the specifics? What happens next? But then another key sticking point is the question of verification. In other words, during a pause, what happens? Does Hamas get to run free inside Gaza without anybody looking at him, without Israeli surveillance? That's what they're asking for. That's certainly not an idea that Israel would support, because that would allow Hamas to regroup and use these pauses for military purpose as opposed to humanitarian purpose, which is the whole point of a pause, to allow aid to flow in to get hostages out. And so those are the key sticking points. So they are logistical in nature, but they are substantive at their core. The question of what comes after a ceasefire, and will Hamas be more powerful after one than before? And I think that's why we're seeing so many delays.
Right. No, that makes total sense. Let's talk a little bit about the environment here at home, because there is this new NBC poll that shows just how divided, in particular, Democrats are about the Israel-Hamas war. 51% of Democratic voters, according to this new NBC poll, say Israel's gone too far. 27% say Israel's actions are justified. 49% oppose the U.S. sending military aid to Israel. Now, of course, President Biden has been steadfast in his support for Israel, both in his rhetoric, but also the actions of the government. Is there a point at which that might change, in your view, because of the feelings here? I mean, young voters in particular seem very opposed to what the administration is doing.
Yeah, Casey, without a doubt, this is causing a lot of churn inside the Democratic Party. And as you know, I'm an active member of the Democratic Party, and I think it's legitimate that we see a lot of anxiety about the war and a desire to have American pressure to end it. But we're not seeing that break. We're not seeing that go over into a demand at a broader national level. But we are seeing it at a critical level of the base. And the base is going to continue to make its voice heard. But watch, and this is what I'm looking at, watch what members of Congress say when they're calling for a ceasefire. Just one came out last night, Judy Chu, and basically her argument is, I want a ceasefire, but it needs to be bilateral. It needs to be with Hamas pausing its actions and allowing for the hostages out, as opposed to a unilateral ceasefire, which is what's being called for by more aggressive voices. And that matters because it means that members of Congress, while hearing and absorbing the large protest voices, which is important, they are not flipping into the argument that Israel should just stop its war right now. But that is the key measurement to watch. But the president has broad support. I signed on to a letter about a week ago of former Biden and Obama officials supporting the president's policy. There's a lot of support for where he's going, including in the Jewish community, 3/4 support. So it's not just this one snapshot poll, but certainly watching what these members say, bilateral ceasefire versus unilateral ceasefire, that's the critical measurement.
Very insightful. All right, Joel Rubin, thanks very much for being with us this morning. I appreciate it. Hope to see you soon.